Hello everyone, welcome to my second video in this series where I'm talking about my library GuiPyg. This video is coming to you about 8 months after I did my first one, so obviously there's been quite a bit of time in between. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a whole lot of work that has gone on with this project since I originally posted my first video. And a big part of that is I simply just burnt out. And I mean, it happens to everyone. It hit me pretty hard. I've been working on this for a solid month and a half and probably put in like 80 hours or so, 80 to 100 hours, and I kind of just burnt out. A couple of weeks ago, I noticed some people were commenting on my video, some encouraging words, which I really appreciated, and that kind of encouraged me to get back into working on this a little bit. So the other day, I started working on GuiPyg. So if I open this file here, this kind of serves two purposes. So I want this to be kind of the demo for how building GUIs will work with GuiPyg, but eventually I also want this to be a method for people to visually build the GUI without having to write all the button, menu, GUI code and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you'll still have to do a little bit here and there, probably a little bit of tweaking, but I want this to be visually editable as well. So I kind of started working on that, and I got something very basic here, which does absolutely nothing other than just a few buttons and menus, and like I said, they don't do anything. But eventually a user would be able to build their GUI within a screen. They'd be able to save it to a JSON file. They'd be able to load it to their project, and then you could add functionality to it within your project and stuff like that. But a big part of the issue that I've been running into is serialization of the GUIs themselves through JSON. So if I go into my test file here, in my main project, and I run it, it looks like it's working, but it's not. These buttons are actually supposed to have functions built in, but they're not loading from the JSON files properly, and I need to figure out how to make everything work in that regard. I was debugging it earlier this week and I made some ground on it, and then I took a 3 or 4 day break and now I kind of forget where I was, so that's a bit unfortunate, but sometimes you just need to take a break from the stuff or you'll drive yourself crazy. You may also notice that this is running at a much higher frame rate than it was in my previous video. I'm not entirely sure what happened. I don't know if it was because PyGame updated from the dev version to the release version. So this is running on PyGame version 2.0.1 now. So I don't know if that's what caused it or if there were some other changes I made within the core code that could have caused that, either in the elements somewhere in here or in the GUI part of the project. I don't know. It was definitely a welcome improvement, and I decided not to drive myself crazy trying to figure out what happened. There's a few other small changes I made in how I load and save the GUIs. Before, I had two different methods where I was loading and two different methods where I was saving, so it was literally loading and saving twice, which, I mean, these speeds are pretty fast considering it took only 0.008 seconds to load the GUI from a file. 0.004 to save it to a file. Like, those are very small numbers, and even doubling that doesn't hurt that much, but I figured performance is welcome where possible, so I just streamlined that a little bit. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little update on what's going on with this. There isn't really a whole lot to show as of right now, and like, this is more broken than it was back when I showed it in July of last year, so that's a bit unfortunate. But my other GuiPyg project, I just started on this, so hopefully I can get some more functionality in there. I'd also like to maybe build a little game or something using this, or even if any of you watching this like to build a game with this, I would appreciate to see someone try and do that. The test here kind of serves as an example of how you can build these GUIs and even GuiPyg, which is probably a better example because I've kind of formatted a little bit. I do plan on streamlining this so that the menus can automatically format how the buttons are sorted inside of them, and you can change some settings in the menus to have formatted differently, stuff like that. And I also plan on changing the styling, although I'm not entirely sure how I plan on changing that yet. But currently this acts a bit like CSS. So these style objects, they're just a bunch of different settings that then get applied to each of the elements, and these styles can also get stored in a theme, and then this theme can get passed to a GUI object, which from there that can style all the menus and buttons that are stored within that specific GUI. Anyways, I hope you guys found this interesting. If you are interested in the source code, you can find it at my GitHub page. It's just Nakaris, that's my username, and then GuiPyg is the project. I'll leave a link for it in the description down below. If you're interested in contributing, feel free to leave a comment. If you have any suggestions, anything you could help me with, I'm definitely looking for some help on this. I planned on implementing some drop shadows for this that I had to drop, no pun intended. As I was just finding it frustrating, but I did find a video by one of my viewers actually, which described how to make shadows in PyGame, and I actually found that pretty intriguing, so I might watch over that a few times and figure out if I can use that to implement drop shadows for the buttons and other GUI elements within GuiPyg. So that might be a new feature coming in the future. Currently, my biggest concern is fixing how the GUI files are saved and loaded, and there is a lot of, I think, streamlining I can do here. There's a lot of unused variables in there that I could get rid of and stuff, but for now I need to figure out how to load it properly, specifically the functions, how to load those properly so that they're working from a loaded file. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for the subs. I got 8 subscribers off my first video, which I never expected, and I really appreciate the words of encouragement I got on the last video. So if you got any more suggestions, or if you want to know more about the project and what I plan on doing with it, please feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to try it out. I suggest using the release version because that's a working version. There's not a whole lot to it, but you could build something, some simple menus with it, I guess. I will definitely have to work on the documentation. If there's someone who's willing to do that for me, then please feel free to reach out. I would appreciate that as well. This is an open source project, so I want people, if they're interested in working on it, to definitely feel free to reach out, and we can discuss some things and go from there. So yeah, thanks a lot. Leave a like if you liked the video, leave a dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you want to see more about GuiPyg. Hopefully I'll get some more videos out in the next month. Hopefully do some more videos a bit closer together than 8 months from the last one. I'll see you next time.